Hi everybody, my name is Arya. Welcome back to my channel. Let me ask you something. Have you been studying English for months, or maybe even years, but still feel shy when it's time to actually speak? You understand a lot, but when someone talks to you in English, your mind goes completely blank. You freeze up. Maybe you're afraid to make mistakes, or maybe you think your grammar isn't perfect yet. If this sounds like you, don't worry. I've been there. A lot of my students have been there. In this video, I'm going to tell you why you must talk to people in English, even if you're a beginner. I'll share 9 simple but powerful chapters that will help you understand why speaking is the key to fluency. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll want to go out and speak English right away. So, grab a notebook, stay with me until the end, and let's get started. Chapter 1. Talking builds. Real confidence. Hi everyone. Let's begin with the first and most important reason why you must talk to people in English. Because talking builds real confidence. Now, I know many of you are studying English every day. Maybe you watch YouTube videos. Maybe you read English books. Maybe you use apps or listen to English podcasts. That's great. You're doing a lot of input. That means you're taking English in. But here's the problem. Input alone is not enough. You also need output. And the most powerful kind of output is speaking. Think about it like this. If you read about swimming in a book or watch videos of swimmers, does that mean you can swim? Number. You need to get into the water and actually try it. That's when you start building real skill. That's how you build confidence. The same is true for English. You need to use it. You need to speak it. That's when you build confidence. I had a student once. Her name was Reenas. She was amazing at grammar. She knew so many vocabulary words. She read novels in English. But when she came to our speaking class, something happened. I asked her a very simple question. What did you do this weekend? And you know what? She froze. She looked at me and said nothing for almost 30 seconds. Her hands were shaking. She whispered, "Sorry, I forgot the words." And I understood. Reenas had never practiced speaking before. She had all the knowledge inside her brain, but she didn't have the confidence to use it. She never trained that part of her English. So we started practicing small conversations, very small ones. Like, "How are you? What did you eat today? What time do you wake up?" At first, she was shy. She spoke very slowly, but she kept coming to class. Every week she practiced speaking out loud, and after just a few weeks, I saw a big change. She smiled more. She started making jokes in English. She made friends in class. And one day she told me, "I'm not afraid to speak anymore." That's real confidence. Not just knowing English, but being able to use it in real situations. And it only came from speaking. Reading is great. Watching videos is great. But when you don't speak, your brain doesn't learn how to send the words. It only learns how to receive them. If you want to speak fluently, you need to practice sending the words too. Maybe you're afraid of speaking because you're scared to make a mistake. But guess what? Everyone makes mistakes. Even native speakers. The important thing is not to be perfect. The important thing is to be brave. When you speak, you are training your brain to get faster. You are training your tongue to move correctly. You are building your communication muscles, just like going to the gym. When you speak, even just a few minutes a day, your confidence will grow. You'll start to feel, "Yes, I can do this. I can speak English." and that feeling will make you want to speak more. That's how you start building a new identity, not just as an English student, but as an English speaker. So my advice for you is simple. Don't wait until you feel confident to speak. Start speaking, and confidence will come. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need to know 1,000 words. You just need the courage to open your mouth and try, even if it's just saying, "Hi, how are you?" to someone online, or reading a short sentence out loud, or recording your voice and listening to yourself. Every little bit helps. The more you speak, the more natural it will feel. You'll stop thinking so much. You'll stop translating in your head. You'll just talk. That's when real fluency starts to happen. So remember, talking builds real confidence, not someday in the future, but right now. Start small. Start today. Chapter 2. You learn faster when you speak all right. So now that we know speaking helps build your confidence, let's talk about something else that's really important. Speaking helps you learn faster. Yes, really. If you want to learn English faster, you have to speak. Let me explain why. When you listen to English or read English, you are getting something called input. That means you are taking in new words, new grammar, and new phrases. This is great. But here's the thing. If you only take in English and never use it, your brain forgets it faster. It's like hearing a song one time and trying to sing it perfectly. You can't do it. But if you sing that song 5 or 10 times, it starts to stay in your memory, right? This is what happens with English too. If you want words and phrases to stay in your memory longer, you have to say them out loud. You have to use them. This is called output. What you say. Output is a very strong way to learn. It makes your brain work harder. And when your brain works harder, it remembers more. Let me give you an example. I once taught a student named Sam. Sam was really good at listening. He could understand podcasts, TV shows, and even fast English. But when I asked him to describe what he heard, he couldn't do it. He knew the word when he heard it, but he couldn't use it in a sentence. So we changed something. Every time he learned a new word, he had to make a sentence and say it out loud. Just one sentence. But you know what? After 2 weeks, he told me, "I remember more vocabulary now than I ever did before." It worked. Why does this happen? Because speaking activates more parts of your brain. When you speak, your brain has to think of the word, remember the grammar, choose the right pronunciation, and move your mouth. It's like doing a full-body workout, but for your brain. And that kind of practice helps your memory a lot more than just listening quietly. Also, when you speak, you notice your mistakes more clearly. Maybe you say something and it doesn't sound right. Or you say a sentence and think, was that correct? That's your brain working. That's your brain focusing on grammar, on word order, on pronunciation. And the next time, you get better. You fix your mistake and learn from it. That's very powerful. Here's another tip. When you learn a new word or phrase, don't just read it, say it. Say it 2 times. Say it 5 times. Use it in your own sentence. Make a small story with it. This helps you make a connection in your brain. When you say something with your voice, it becomes part of your active vocabulary, not just passive vocabulary. What's the difference? Passive vocabulary is what you understand when you hear it. Active vocabulary is what you can use when you speak. And the more you speak, the more words move from passive to active. That's how you become fluent. So what can you do today? You don't need a language partner right away. You can start by speaking to yourself. Yes, talk to yourself in English. Describe what you're doing. I'm making tea. I'm watching a video. I'm getting ready for work. Even 1 or 2 sentences a day will help. You can also repeat sentences you hear from native speakers, maybe from a TV show or this video. Try to copy how I say it. Repeat after me. Train your mouth and your ears together. This helps with pronunciation too. Another thing you can try: keep a small speaking journal. Every day, record your voice for just 1 minute. Talk about your day. Talk about your goals. You don't have to share it with anyone. It's just for you. But you'll be surprised how much this helps you learn faster. So here's the main idea. Speaking is not just for testing your English. It's a powerful way to learn English. When you speak, you're training your brain. You're building memory. You're improving your grammar, your pronunciation, and your vocabulary, all at the same time. Don't wait until your English is perfect. Don't wait until you know enough. Speaking is how you learn. So start now, even if it's small, even if it's just with yourself. Speak more and you'll learn faster. That's the truth. Chapter 3. Mistakes are your best teacher. Let's talk about something that stops many people from speaking English: fear of making mistakes. Maybe this has happened to you. You want to say something in English, but then you stop. You think, what if I say it wrong? Or what if people laugh at me? Or what if my grammar is bad? So you stay quiet. You don't speak, and the moment passes. But let me tell you something very important. Mistakes are not bad. Mistakes are actually your best teacher. Yes, really. When you make a mistake, it shows you what you need to learn next. And that is very useful. Think about it like this. If you never make a mistake, how will you know what you need to fix? How will you grow? You won't. You'll stay in the same place. But if you speak and make a mistake, your brain says, "Oh, that didn't work." And now you can find the right answer. That's learning. I remember one of my students, Ahmed. He always said, "I don't want to speak until I can say everything correctly." He waited and waited. He watched videos. He studied grammar. But he never practiced speaking. After 6 months, he told me, "I still can't speak." I said, "Of course. You've been waiting to be perfect. But learning doesn't work that way. You get better by trying, failing, and trying again." So he started speaking. At first, he made a lot of mistakes. He said the wrong tense. He forgot some words. But every time he made a mistake, we fixed it together. And guess what? He got better. Fast. Because now he could see exactly where his weak points were. That's the power of making mistakes. And here's something else to remember. Most native English speakers don't care about your grammar. They care about connection. They care about understanding you. If you say, "He go to school yesterday," a native speaker will still understand you. They won't laugh. They won't stop talking to you. They will try to help. They might say, "Oh, you mean he went to school yesterday." And now you've learned something. You've improved. All because you made a mistake. When children learn to speak, do they wait until they know all the rules? Number. They try, they guess, they make mistakes. And that's how they learn. You can do the same. Mistakes also help you build confidence. Yes, that sounds strange, but it's true. The more mistakes you make, the more you realize. It's not a big deal. The world doesn't end. People still understand you, and you get stronger each time. Let me give you a small exercise. Think of one thing you want to say in English today. Just one sentence. Say it out loud. If it feels wrong, try again. or look up the right way to say it. That's one small mistake turning into one big improvement. Another tip: when you speak with someone and they correct you, say thank you. Don't feel bad. Feel happy. Because now you know something you didn't know before. That's a gift. That's how we learn. And if no one corrects you, that's okay too. You can write down what you said. Later, you can check it or ask someone to help. You're still learning from the experience. You're still growing. So here's what I want you to remember. Don't run away from mistakes. Run toward them. They are not the enemy. They are your teacher. And the more mistakes you make, the more progress you make. Nobody speaks perfect English all the time, not even native speakers. What's important is that you keep going, keep trying, keep learning. If you make 100 mistakes today, that means you are trying 100 times. And that is something to be proud of. So don't be afraid. Speak, make mistakes, learn, and speak again. That's how you grow. Chapter 4. Speaking makes you think in English. Let's talk about something very special that happens when you speak English often. You start thinking in English. And when that happens, your English improves very fast. Now, maybe right now you're translating in your head. You think in your native language first, then change the sentence to English. For example, maybe in your mind you say, I want to eat rice, but first you think that sentence in your own language. Then you try to translate each word into English. That takes time. And sometimes it makes your English sound a little strange or slow. But here's the good news. The more you speak, the less you translate. Your brain starts to get faster. You stop thinking, how do I say this? And you just say it. That's what we call thinking in English. And it's one of the biggest signs that you are becoming fluent. Speaking helps you do this because it forces your brain to work faster. When you speak, you can't stop and check a dictionary every time. You have to make quick choices. You have to use what you know. And when you do this again and again, your brain learns to skip the translation step. It goes straight to English. Let me give you a small example. I had a student named May. She always translated everything. I asked her, what do you like to do on weekends? And she took 15 seconds to answer. She said, wait, I'm thinking. But we practiced a lot of short conversations every class. After a few weeks, she said, I didn't translate that time. I just answered. That's how it starts. One small moment. And then it happens more and more. So how can you train your brain to think in English? You don't need anything special. Just try these small speaking tasks every day. 1. Name things around you in English. Look around your room and say what you see. This is my chair. There's my phone. I'm wearing blue socks. These simple sentences help your brain build connections directly in English. 2. Describe what you're doing. As you go through your day, speak small sentences to yourself. I'm brushing my teeth. I'm making coffee. I'm walking to the store. This helps your brain connect actions and words without needing to translate. 3. Talk about your day at the end of the day. Every night, take 2 minutes and say what you did. Out loud. Like this. Today I went to work. I ate lunch with my friend. I watched a video. Now I'm tired. It doesn't have to be long or perfect. It just helps you think directly in English. 4. Use your phone in English. Change your phone's language to English. Now, when you use apps, read messages, or check the time, you're training your brain to see and think in English all day. 5. Talk to yourself. Yes, really. You don't always need a partner to speak. You can talk to yourself in the mirror or in your head or while walking. You can say, "What do I need to do today? Let me make a list. Oh, I forgot my keys." These everyday sentences are simple, but powerful. When you do these small things every day, something amazing happens. You stop needing your native language to understand English. Your brain starts to go directly to the English word, the English structure, the English idea. That's when fluency really begins. Thinking in English also helps your speaking become more natural. You stop hesitating. You stop pausing. You start speaking with more rhythm and more confidence. And all of that starts from one simple thing: speaking more. So if you're wondering, how can I stop translating in my head? This is the answer. Speak more. Speak every day. Speak about simple things. Don't worry about mistakes. Just keep talking. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. Your brain is smart. It will learn. It just needs practice. And the best practice of all is speaking. Chapter 5. Conversation helps you use grammar. Naturally. Let's talk about grammar. Most English learners spend a lot of time studying grammar rules, on paper, in books, in videos. Maybe you've done that too. You know the rules. You understand present simple, past tense, present perfect. You know how it works. But when it's time to speak, it all disappears. You forget. You pause. You start thinking, wait, is this go or went? Do I use have here or not? That's very common. I see it all the time. The reason is simple. You know the grammar, but you haven't practiced using it in real time. Speaking changes that. When you speak regularly, grammar starts to become automatic. You stop thinking about the rule. You just say the sentence, and it feels right. Just like how you don't think about grammar in your native language, right? You just talk. That's what happens with English too, when you practice speaking often. Let me give you an example. One of my students, Rosa, was very good at grammar exercises. On paper, she always got the answers right, but in conversation, she froze. She would say, "Yesterday I go to," and then stop. She knew the past tense was went, but in the moment, she forgot. So we started practicing small conversations every class. We didn't focus on grammar rules. We just talked. About her day, about her job, about her favorite food. After a few weeks, I noticed something. She started saying, "I went to work. I ate lunch. I watched a movie." And she didn't stop or think. She just said it. Her grammar became automatic. Why? Because she practiced speaking, not writing, not reading, speaking. When you speak, you use your grammar in real time. That's different from writing slowly or doing grammar exercises. In real conversations, your brain has to work fast. It has to choose the right tense, the right structure, the right word. And when you do this again and again, it becomes a habit. Let's try something simple. Say this sentence with me. Every morning, I drink coffee. Now change it to the past. Yesterday morning, I drank coffee. Now future. Tomorrow morning, I will drink coffee. Great. That's grammar practice. But the real power comes when you say those kinds of sentences in a real conversation. When someone asks, "What did you do yesterday?" and you answer, "I drank coffee and went for a walk," your brain is doing grammar without you thinking. That's fluency. So here's my advice. Don't try to be perfect. Try to be regular. Speak every day, even just for a few minutes. The more you speak, the more your grammar becomes natural. You won't need to think, is this the right tense? You'll just feel it. Here are a few ways to help grammar become more natural through conversation. 1. Repeat patterns. When you hear a sentence structure, try to copy it. Example: I've never been to Paris. Now try: I've never been to London. I've never been to Japan. This helps you use grammar in a real, useful way. Second, practice daily questions. Answer common questions out loud every day. What did you do yesterday? What are you doing today? What will you do tomorrow? You don't need a partner. Just speak your answer. It helps. 3. Record yourself. Say a few sentences about your day. Use different tenses. Then listen. Does it sound right? Did you use the right form? You can check and improve. It's like having a conversation with yourself. And remember, real grammar learning happens when you use it. Not when you only read about it. Not when you only do exercises. You have to speak. So don't wait until you know all the grammar. You'll never feel 100% ready. Just start speaking now. Make small mistakes. Learn. Try again. That's how grammar becomes part of your real English, not just something in your notebook. The more you speak, the more it sticks. And one day, you'll notice that you're using past tense, future tense, present perfect, all without thinking. It just comes out. That's what happens when you practice conversation. So speak, speak, speak. That's how grammar becomes real. Chapter 6. You learn real, everyday English. Now let's talk about something very important. Real English. Not textbook English. Not formal English. But the kind of English that people really use every day. The English you hear on the street, at work, in cafes, in movies. The English that native speakers use with each other. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever studied English from a book and then listened to native speakers and felt confused? You think, wait, I don't understand what they're saying. That's not in my textbook. That's because real English is full of idioms, expressions, slang, and shortcuts. And most of it, you don't learn from a grammar book. But here's the good news. When you speak with people, when you have conversations, you start to hear and learn these real phrases. You don't just learn the words, you learn how people really use them in daily life. That's how your English becomes natural. That's how you start to sound more like a fluent speaker. Let me give you an example. A textbook might teach you to say, I am very tired. That's okay. It's correct. But in real life, native speakers usually say, I'm exhausted, or I'm beat, or even, I'm wiped out. If you never speak with people, you may never learn these expressions. But when you talk to someone and they say, man, I'm beat, you ask, what does that mean? They explain it. And now, you've learned a natural phrase that sounds real, not robotic. Here's another example. A textbook might say, it is raining heavily. But in real life, someone might say, it's pouring, or it's coming down hard. This is the kind of language people use in everyday conversation. And one more. A course might teach you, I do not know. But real people usually say, I don't know, or I don't know. Very casual. So when you speak to others, your ears start to pick up these natural ways of speaking. You start to hear the rhythm, the tone, and the small expressions people use all the time. And here's something even better. When you learn a phrase in conversation, you remember it much faster. Why? Because it's connected to a real experience. You're not just reading it, you're feeling it. You're living it. You're having a moment, and your brain says, ah, that was funny, or that was interesting. and the phrase sticks in your mind. One of my students, Diego, told me a funny story. He was talking to a coworker in English, and the coworker said, "It's not my cup of tea." Diego didn't understand. He thought, "Tea? What does tea have to do with this?" But later he asked what it meant. His coworker said, "It means I don't like it." And now Diego uses that phrase all the time. Horror movies? Not my cup of tea. That's real English. You can also learn small conversation fillers when you speak. Phrases like, "You know what I mean?" "Kind of." "To be honest." "No way." "Seriously?" These are the things that make your English sound more natural, more friendly, more like a native speaker. So here's what I want you to do. Try to notice the phrases people use in real conversations. You don't need to remember every single one. Just start with one or two. Write them down. Use them the next time you speak. Slowly, your vocabulary will grow, not just in size, but in quality. Here are some tips to help. 1. Ask questions during a conversation. If someone says something you don't understand, say, "What does that mean? Can you explain that?" Most people are happy to help, and now you've learned something new. 2. Keep a phrase notebook. Write down interesting or useful phrases you hear in conversations. Review them. Use them when you speak. 3. Try to use one new phrase each day. Pick one expression you like and use it in your next conversation. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just try. Remember, speaking with people is not just about practicing grammar or pronunciation. It's about learning how people really talk. That's what makes your English sound alive. That's what makes people say, "Wow, you speak well." So don't just study English, live it. Talk with people, ask questions, learn the real phrases. That's the English that will help you in the real world. And the more you speak, the more real English you'll hear and use. Chapter 7. You build relationships in English. English is not just a subject. It's not just about grammar rules, vocabulary lists, or test scores. English is a way to connect with people. When you speak English, you're not just practicing a language, you're building relationships. You're making friends, learning about other cultures, and sometimes even opening the door to new opportunities. I've seen this so many times. One small conversation, one little hello or how are you, can grow into something big, a friendship, a job, a new experience. And it all starts with speaking. Let me tell you a quick story. One of my students, Amir, moved to Canada. He was very shy. His English was okay, but he was nervous to speak. He used to walk to the same cafe every day, order his coffee, and leave. No talking, no small talk. One day, he decided to try. He said, "Hi, how are you?" to the barista. She smiled and said, "Good, thanks. How about you?" That was it, just a simple exchange. But the next day, they talked a little more. Then, a little more. A few weeks later, she introduced him to a local language group. He joined. He met new people. Now he has 3 close friends. And it all started with one small sentence. That's the power of speaking. When you speak, even a little, you show people that you want to connect. And people respond. They smile. They help. They invite you in. Speaking helps you build real human connections. It's not about being perfect. It's about sharing ideas, sharing stories, sharing time together. And those moments are what make language learning truly meaningful. And guess what? When you talk to real people, your English improves faster. Why? Because now you're motivated. You have a reason to keep going. You want to talk to your friend again. You want to understand that joke they made. You want to send a message, reply to a comment, or join the conversation. It becomes fun. It becomes real. I had another student, Keiko, who joined an online group to practice English. Just 1 hour a week. At first, she only listened. Then she started saying a few sentences. After 3 months, she was leading a small group. Now she helps others who are just starting. And she told me, I never imagined I could do this, but speaking helped me feel part of something. And here's something important. When you build relationships through English, you also start to understand different cultures. You learn how people think, what they care about, how they see the world. You learn to listen. You learn to be curious. And that makes you a better communicator, not just in English, but in life. So, what can you do to start building relationships in English? 1. Start small. Say hi to someone in English, even if you're shy. At the store, at school, at work. Just start with hi or how are you? 2. Join a language group. Look online for English conversation groups. Many are free. You can join from home. Talk about simple things, your hobbies, your day, your favorite food. 3. Use social media to connect. Comment on posts. Send a kind message. Ask a question. There are millions of English learners out there, just like you. 4. Be curious. Ask questions. If someone is from a different country, ask about their culture, their language, their food. Most people love to share, and they'll ask you questions too. Remember, you don't need perfect English to make a friend. You just need to try. People can feel your effort. They can see your smile. They care more about connection than grammar. So speak. Even if your English is simple, even if you make mistakes, speak because it brings you closer to people. Speak because you have something to share. Speak because the world is full of people waiting to meet you, and English is the bridge. Relationships make learning fun. They give you support. They help you stay motivated. And most of all, they remind you why you started learning in the first place. You're not alone in this journey. So go out there and say something. Start small. Build connections. One sentence at a time. Chapter 8. Speaking prepares you for real situations. Okay, so let's talk about something really important now. Real life. Maybe you're learning English because you want to travel. Or maybe you want to study abroad, get a new job, or move to a new country. Whatever your reason, you're probably going to use English in real situations. And guess what? Speaking is what prepares you for that. Let me ask you this. Have you ever practiced English for a long time, watched videos, read books, even learned a lot of vocabulary? But then, when you had to speak at the airport or talk to someone at a hotel, you froze. You felt nervous, or the words didn't come out right. That's very normal. It happens to almost everyone. And the reason is simple. You didn't practice speaking in real-life situations. Reading and listening are great. They help you learn words and understand grammar. But when you actually need to use English in the real world, it's your speaking practice that helps the most. Let me give you a few real examples. One of my students, Elena, was preparing for a trip to the US. She studied English for a long time, but when she had to check in at a hotel, she panicked. She couldn't remember the right phrases. She wanted to say, I have a reservation, but forgot the word reservation. She said, I booked, I book, I, uh. The hotel staff helped her, but she felt embarrassed. After that, she decided to practice those situations with me in class. We acted them out, checking in at hotels, ordering food, asking for directions. After 2 weeks of practice, she felt so much better. The next time she traveled, everything was smooth. Why? Because she had spoken those words before. She had used the English, not just studied it. Speaking helps you prepare for all kinds of real situations. Think about these examples: traveling, asking for directions, ordering food, talking to a taxi driver, asking about a bus or train, checking in at the airport, work, talking to coworkers, giving simple updates in meetings, answering emails or phone calls, making small talk during lunch interviews, talking about your experience, answering common questions like, "Tell me about yourself," asking questions about the job studying abroad, asking a teacher a question, joining a study group, talking to classmates, giving a small presentation. All of these things need speaking practice, not just vocabulary, not just reading. You need to get your mouth used to saying these words in real situations. Here's what I recommend. 1. Practice real-life conversations. Even by yourself, you can practice speaking. Say out loud, "I have a reservation." "Where is the nearest train station?" "I'd like to order a coffee, please." When you say it out loud, it becomes easier to say when you really need it. 2. Role play with a friend or teacher. Act out real situations. Pretend one of you is the waiter, the hotel staff, the boss. You'll be surprised how useful this is. 3. Record yourself. Pick a real-life topic, like job interview or ordering food. Say what you would say. Then listen and improve it. Maybe fix a few words. Maybe improve the pronunciation. 4. Make a situation list. Think about your life. What situations will you face in English? Write them down. Then start speaking the kinds of things you would say in those moments. Remember, the goal of learning English is not just to pass a test. The goal is to use it in the real world. And when you speak, you prepare your brain and your mouth for that. I had a student named Raj who wanted to study in the UK. He was very good at writing and grammar, but he never practiced speaking. In his first week at university, he told me, "I couldn't understand anyone. I didn't know what to say when someone asked me, 'What's up?'" So we practiced together. Small talk, class discussions, even group project conversations. After a few weeks, he said, "Now I feel like I can survive here." That's what speaking practice does. It helps you survive and then succeed. So if you're learning English for a real reason, travel, study, work, start preparing by speaking now. Don't wait until you feel ready. The more you speak now, the easier those real situations will be later. You're training for real life. And real life doesn't come with subtitles or grammar exercises. It comes with people, questions, fast conversations, and little moments where you need to speak. So let's get ready for that by practicing today. Chapter 9. You become a brave language learner. And now we've reached the final chapter, where we talk about something that's really close to my heart: the emotional transformation that happens when you start speaking English. At the beginning of your language learning journey, you might have felt unsure of yourself, right? Maybe you were afraid of making mistakes, or you thought you weren't good enough. A lot of learners feel like they're still students when they're learning a language. They're always in the position of needing help or looking up words. But when you start speaking, something amazing happens. You transform. You go from being just a student to becoming an actual language user. And trust me, this change is powerful. It's not just about knowing the right words or perfect grammar. It's about gaining confidence, independence, and most importantly, bravery. Here's the thing. Speaking makes you braver. Why? Because the more you speak, the more you realize that you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to speak like a native speaker to communicate. In fact, speaking English, even if you're still learning, makes you more brave. You start using the language without worrying about making mistakes. You begin to understand that mistakes are not something to be afraid of. They are simply part of the process. I've seen this happen with so many students. At first, they're too scared to even say a word. They hold back, waiting for the perfect moment to speak. But then, something changes. They start trying, they make a mistake, and instead of feeling embarrassed, they learn from it. And then they speak again, and again. Each time, they become a little bit braver, a little bit more independent. Soon, speaking English becomes natural for them. It's not just about the words, but about how you feel. Speaking gives you a sense of ownership over the language. You stop being a passive learner, just listening or reading, and you become someone who actively uses English in the world. This change is powerful because it's emotional too. Every time you speak, you remind yourself that you are making real progress. Now, I know it's not always easy. Speaking can be scary. But here's the secret. You don't need to wait until you're perfect. In fact, I encourage you to start speaking now, even if you only know a few words. You can start small, and that's okay. Even if it's just asking someone, "How are you?" or ordering a coffee in English. It all counts. Every time you speak, you're growing. You're getting one step closer to being the kind of learner who is brave enough to speak up and use the language in real life. Let me tell you about one of my students, Maria. When she first started learning English, she was terrified of speaking. She would try to read and memorize words, but she would freeze when someone asked her a question. She didn't want to make a mistake, so she stayed quiet. But one day, she decided to stop waiting for perfect English and just try. She went to the grocery store, and when the cashier asked her how her day was, she responded in English, even though she was nervous. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. And you know what? That moment changed her. The next day, she tried again, at a cafe with her friends, in class. She started speaking more and more, and soon she wasn't afraid anymore. Maria became brave, and this is the transformation that speaking brings. It's not just about learning English, it's about growing as a learner. It's about realizing that the more you speak, the more you'll feel proud of yourself. And eventually, you'll stop thinking of yourself as someone learning a language and start thinking of yourself as someone who lives in the language, who is confident and brave enough to speak no matter what. So, my final piece of advice: stop waiting for the perfect moment to speak. Stop waiting for your grammar to be flawless. Just start speaking, even if it's just a few words. Each word you speak is a step towards fluency, and it's a step towards becoming the brave language learner you're meant to be. If this video gave you the push you needed to start speaking English today, then I want to hear from you. Leave a comment and tell me, who will you speak English with this week? And if you found this video helpful, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and share it with a friend who wants to learn English too. I post videos like this every week to help you build real English fluency through listening and speaking. Thanks so much for watching Learn English with Listening. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.